Who are you?
Oh, I'm just another Caucasian male. Well, I'm Josh Ruben. I'm a director, an actor, and a writer, and a producer, and I am a grateful man to be here.
What are the three things you value most in life?
One is my family. Very, very family-oriented guy. We're a supportive, humorous, fun bunch, if you will. So very grateful for them. Very, very grateful for my fiance, who I've actually known for just over a decade, and we have a great friendship and relationship, and also that I can do stuff like this for a living. Not only just make stuff and make people laugh in the process, but also meet other creators, and it's all part of the process that I've carved that out. I'm very grateful for.
Tell me a memory which shaped you.
Oh my goodness, I don't know why the one that always comes to mind is my 7th birthday party, when I was just jumping on my parents splurged on a moon bounce, which is basically a bouncy castle. Big birthday, I guess. But I don't think that shaped me beyond just it being a great day. The one that really shaped me, I think, is, I haven't thought about this in a while. I put on my own talent show. Maybe it wasn't even a talent show. I think. Oh, I don't remember. It was a show I did at my high school that I put on with a bunch of friends. I don't know how they let me do this. Maybe because my mom was the principal. Talk about privilege. And it was a show about an open mic. So I think it was like a play where I just got a bunch of talented friends together. God, I haven't thought about this in forever. And all those talented high schoolers, we're all kind of ragtag theater kids. We just sort of get the opportunity to go up and just kind of do their thing. And I think I played kind of an MC. And I think maybe 50 people came in my high school, auditorium. It was a drop in the bucket. But to be able to put something on with a bunch of friends and raise up other friends and sort of the fellow weirdos in my school was really fun and really exciting. I really enjoyed that. I think that shaped me probably in a way I haven't even quite realized or certainly thought about in a while.
Were you a weirdo in school?
Yeah, I marched to the beat of my own drum. I was a theater kid. Oh my gosh, I mean, I was a huge fan of Robin Williams, and I would, when Patch Adams came up, I would dress up like him, cargo pants and Hawaiian shirt, and I would make movies with my two friends on a camcorder my parents bought me for my elementary school graduation. I wasn't quite popular with my age, but I was, I think, with younger kids and sort of fellow weird students. Weird's a good thing. It's a good adjective. Yeah, I definitely consider myself one of them. I was in no way popular, but it was cool to just kind of have a community of fellow buds who also wore sweatpants every day so they didn't have to change in gym,
Yeah, I was a kind of a different, because we don't really have theater. Even though I did theater, now that I think about it, I did theater when I was in secondary school. I just did equivalent of high school, and I was the kind of a weird kid in that I would just sit there with a book and just every day, just reading books. Or when I was in secondary school, we used to have these long, rambling philosophical debates about everything we had no business talking about, but we used to talk about really intense. It's just kind of, I think, inbuilt into who I am to have these sort of conversations and to ask those questions. We would have these conversations about race and civil rights, because I wasn't even out at the time. So it was oh yeah, but I was defending a position from the objective standpoint. I put objective in the quotation marks here, but was actually like defending my own position in a tangible way. Like we were speaking about like how stupid it is that people thought that like races were an actual thing, like how conceptually that makes no sense. But why did they believe that races were a thing? And we would like go through. We had like a big whiteboard because you used to just take over a classroom and just draw like, okay, this is what they believe and this is why it's stupid, like QED.
Oh,
so
God, that's so much smarter than, you know, my class. Like what roll of paper can I moisten to toss at the teacher, you know?
I don't know. I think weird is a ubiquitous language. I think if you speak it, you can understand other people who are weird, and I would agree that weird is a good adjective. Question 4 is much simpler. What's your favorite color?
You know, it used to be red when I was a kid. I wore sweatsuits, and red was my favorite sweatsuit to wear. Just to give you a sense of, you know, I was way ahead of quarantine fashion when I was a kid. But I think, God, I think now it's black. I love wearing nothing like a black T-shirt. And it feels like kind of a statement. It makes me feel like a real artist. But also, it's, you know, it's flattering. So I've got sort of, I guess, an A cup. You know, my man breasts. So yeah, it was always the more flattering colors on me. And also my mom, who, you know, pretty much dressed me, not physically, but, you know, she's very controlling. So she was like, I feel like charcoal and black are just wonderful colors. So I would, that was often my wardrobe, you know, when she'd make me buy things at the Gap.
Tell me in as much detail as you can about something you knew of which once existed and now does not.
Ooh, oh, great. The video store. Blockbuster Video, I guess specifically the Blockbuster Video on, I want to say 83rd Street and 1st Avenue in New York City. I would walk there from my studio apartment with my girlfriend at the time from 44th Street and 2nd Avenue up into, no, maybe it was the 60s. It was a hefty walk, but that process to be able to, which doesn't exist anymore, the routine of walking from your house to a place that no longer exists. I think there's maybe only one Blockbuster left in America, and it's like essentially a museum. I think you can even sleep in it. I mean, how else are they going to turn revenue? But to be able to to go to a Blockbuster, go to the video store in my hometown, Woodstock, New York, and browse videos. It's this thing I'm constantly, I feel like, reading about now more than ever, because there's a lot of filmmakers who are my age who remember that process and remember what that was like and remember video stores, and that was a big part of their, you know, their formative years. So there's a lot of conversation about, oh man, you know, remember film, right? Remember all those, actually caring about what you were going to select and curate for your evening's entertainment. Now it's just kind of like, oh, I don't like 10 minutes of this, I'll just click on this other terrible thing. I remember that, and I think of it fondly.
What, if anything, is perfect?
Oh, I like Avery Monson's answer, by the way. A cheese pizza. I don't disagree with that whatsoever. Perfect to me is, I had this feeling once in the past 6 months, was feeling work tired, which is my favorite feeling to have, feeling satisfied tired, like you just accomplished this big thing and now you have permission to sleep in or permission to sort of relax. So feeling the day after work exhausted when it's super quiet on my patio with the stray cat that comes by. I call him Mr. Jingles because he's got a little collar. So I guess he's not a stray. Somebody owns him. And him sitting in my lap before like the world is awake. That was a pretty perfect feeling. Next to all the other, you know, the lovey-dovey stuff, like, you know, hanging out with my fiance, going on a road trip with my love. I think those are pretty perfect things. And cheese pizza. I mean, you know, hey, Avery's not incorrect.
Who is your favorite character from fiction of any kind, and why?
Man, that is really tough. It goes from like Garp in The World According to Garp to RoboCop to the shark from Jaws. Probably the shark from Jaws. Probably.
Why?
He's a very sentimental character in my mind. I was a very young kid whose parents let their child watch Jaws and other movies that were, certainly skewed more horror, Freddy Krueger even. And I'd sit there and sort of wonder how what is happening is happening. How does that thing work? And is it real? And if it's, fascinated by the fact, when I'd say, whatever, probably asking my folks if that shark really is eating that man alive in the boat that's tipping upward. And being told that it's not, trying to wrap my head around why that thing is and how that thing is doing what it's doing. Probably why I'm doing what I'm doing today, making films and writing stories and stuff. But that image and the way that movie made me feel, and the fact that I find something new about it every time, and the fact that I still get a thrill out of that thing, that shark that was built from heavy machinery and latex and paper mache and gears, that it still works and it's still an effective image in a world where CGI is so shitty. I think it's just it's a combination of all the things, of the visual, of the memory, and of the accomplishment filmically,
Jaws is a fucking rad movie.
Yeah.
Everything about it is just fucking sick, and I love it. You kind of segued into this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What fascinates you?
Shitty people fascinate me. I'm fascinated that people go out of their way, especially in the days of where we should all, especially people who look like you and I, whites, going out of their way to, I have this new troll. You'd probably love this. Or she or they go out of their way to call me a soy boy, which I had to look up in Urban Dictionary, which I think is just someone who's devoid of masculinity. And of course, they're making this comment hiding behind like an anime cartoon, like an anime avatar, and sliding into people's DM, like a D-list celebrity's DMs to call him a soy boy. But I'm fascinated by people who just, you're either so hurt, you have to generate emotion and attention from others, especially D-list, F-list celebrities like myself, celebrities, as my friend Sam would say. I'll never not be fascinated by shitty, strange little trolls, especially ones that probably know that like racism is wrong, but they're like, I'm gonna stoke this fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I'm not big enough to have received any hate. So it's great. I'm living in the golden era so far, where it's like no one has said a bad thing about my podcast.
That's wonderful. That's a good feeling. Me, I've pissed off a lot of people, evidently, speaking out against, racism and, being a bad person. Immediately, I just get bombarded by all the trolls. You can't say that about me.
Oh my god. Well, is it really a controversial opinion not to be a prick? Like, is this quest for just don't be an asshole?
Yeah,
that's somehow controversial.
I guess so.
Yeah,
I don't know. Again, it's a great question. I'm glad you asked it, because I would have probably given you a different answer if didn't write to me and call me a soy boy. What a great combination of words. Anyway,
what is the most valuable thing you've ever learned?
I think it's that the first reaction isn't the emotional reaction, that that things are complex, that people need time to process things before giving you a definitive answer. So I think how do I sum that up? It's basically the most valuable thing I've learned is patience. So not to take anything for face value. Everything is layered, even when there's a hard no. I used to have a bubble in my throat like Alan Rickman. That's Pete Holmes' joke where he says, it sounds like he's got a bubble in his throat. Like he just drank a glass of milk. I had a friend who reminded me, actually, a female friend of mine who said, you used to be so worked up when, I'd complained to her about girl problems I was having at one point, probably in my 20s. hopefully not later than my mid 20s. And I would be so impatient. Oh, she's not writing me back. Maybe I need to ask her 9 more times. Such an impatient, sweaty little 20-year-old. And if you get a response where they say, especially at the time when a girl would say she wasn't interested or she was busy, that meant something else. There might be a double meaning there. Like, I'm busy might also mean you need to back off, or it might mean I'm really busy. It might mean I'm having a breakdown about something, or I'm going through X, Y, or Z. So having the patience to realize, to give someone time, and that you can't always take every answer for face value. I think that's invaluable. I think that's an invaluable lesson for anybody.
Patience is kind of a complex emotion, though, because
completely.
Yeah, there's these two contrasting forces where we're told that life is limited. You got to seize the moment, seize the day, and every second of your life counts. And then it's like, well, if you wait like 2 months for this thing, it'll happen. And you're like, 2 months? Yeah, but the point of that is like, you can do other things while you're waiting. Waiting isn't a consumptive act. Like if you focus on the waiting, you're doing it wrong. Like, if you're in the waiting room and all you're doing is just going, God, I wish the dentist would call me now.
Yeah, that's a great point.
You're just going to be like, oh, God, this is terrible. Whereas if you're, like, reading a book or on your phone, in the same way that in life, if you're waiting for, like, a job interview or something, and all you're doing is going, God, it's been a week now and they haven't contacted me. It's been 2 weeks. It's painful.
Great philosophy. You could pretty much... You could roll that over and apply it to pretty much any profession, but I think it's especially great for actors who get so... Hopefully this isn't the case anymore. It's certainly not, when we're locked down in the States, but for actors to wait on one audition or to hedge everything on one audition, or creators to hedge everything on one opportunity rather than being able to focus on something else while waiting for something else, that only begets more success, because it doesn't sting so bad when you don't, put all your eggs in the basket of one yes. You can apply it to just about any damn thing, and it's great. So yeah, patience. That's a great, valuable lesson.
If you can name a hot sauce, what would you call it and why?
If I could name a hot sauce? Ow, hairy. Probably ow, hairy, because I have hairy arms, and it's a gross thing to think about hot sauce with hair in it, but also it's kind of funny. A little bit of Jaws play in there. It's a bad hat, Harry quote. Ow, Harry. And it's funny, like, is it, did a hairy man named Harry, or just a gentleman named Harry, give you like a welt? And is that congruent to how hot the hot sauce is? It stings just as much as a big man flicking me or giving, I don't know if you can say Indian burn anymore. I'll just say it. Yeah, I'd probably call it my hot sauce. Ow, Harry.
What is your most prized physical possession?
I thought you were going to say body part, and I was like, well, I think my arms aren't bad. They are shrinking a little bit. My most prized physical possession? That's really tough. I love stuff, but I'm also trying to be more of a minimalist these days. There's a few. The one that comes to mind is very recently our friends Brian and Aaron gave us a very sweet engagement gift. Brian made a picture frame and framed a photo of my fiance and I. It's very cute, and it's really, really sweet. I was like, you sanded this? It's beautiful. He didn't just buy it and put our picture in it. So I think that's the new one. I also love, for some reason, years ago, before the Babadook came out, the horror movie, the Babadook, Jennifer Kent's film, there was a campaign to I think there was like a Kickstarter campaign to like finish funds or something. And if you donated a certain amount of money, you got a Babadook pop-up book. And I knew that was like a crazy, valuable, or just exciting thing to have as a film fan. And I was excited to see this movie, which obviously didn't exist yet. But I put in the $100. I think it was like for a $50 donation or something, maybe a little more, and got 2 Babadook books. So I gave one to a friend, and I have the other one on my bookshelf. And just as a horror fan, just like, hey, that's representative of money I helped give a filmmaker to maybe finish their project.
What inspires you?
These days, I'm very inspired by other artists and they're mostly female or female identifying comedians. So I'm not going to say her last name right. She was just recast in or replaced Jenny Slate in Big Mouth on Netflix. But her name is Ayo Edibiri, I believe. And then there's another comedian named Ziwe Fumido, Jess Tom, Rachel Sennett, Brody Gupta, Chloe Feynman, who's on Saturday Night Live here in the States. There's all these hysterical women and female identifying comedians, and they're all hysterical. Patty Harrison is wonderful. She's on a show called Shrill here in the States on Hulu. And it's crazy. They're all Jess Dweck and Bess Kalb on Twitter. Oh my fucking god, they're so funny. So I think the new creative inspirations or inspirations for me are all, you know, majority women. It's really, really exciting. They're just all bitingly funny somehow. It's kind of incredible. It's a great time.
Did you ever have an epiphany? If so, what was it about?
Oh, probably. Did I ever have an epiphany? Oh, yeah. I had a big one. I'm not going to get into the details of who it was about, but I was working with someone who was very toxic. There was a very toxic working relationship that I had for some time. And the epiphany was, if I don't put a stop to this, it's going to sort of poison the local pool, so to speak. Like, I think even my community was starting to get, you know, my immediate friends and family, everyone's starting to get affected by it and that energy, that negative energy. So the epiphany to, and this is important for a lot of people, and I think you realize this as you get older, is the epiphany to close chapters on friendships and relationships. There was a great quote recently. It was like, your friendships are a form of activism. You know, even self-activism. Isn't that incredible? That's
wow,
such a wonderful,
yeah,
such a wonderful quote. Yeah, I can't remember who said it, but it's like, yeah, you don't have to be friends with people that don't serve you. You don't have to bend to people who don't serve you and who don't sort of live up to the moral bar that you have. Who don't value the same things that you don't. You don't have to associate yourself with those people. So that was a great epiphany for me.
To give a kind of a similar quote to build on that is, history is not an obligation.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one.
I cannot claim responsibility for that, but I don't know who said it. So it's just going out.
Michael Santa Claus.
If you could say all of your work had a theme, what would that theme be?
I want to say something as profound as humanity, but I don't think that's quite it. And I want to say something as maybe nuanced as the underdog, or maybe ham-fisted as the underdog, and following people that are sort of lonely or different. But I think I can't quite draw that through I can't make that the through line of everything that I've done personally, but certainly with the movie I have coming out. You know, it explores people who are kind of activate left of center and also are a bit lonely and a little dark in that loneliness and do dark things out of that loneliness. So out of, you know, it's not bad to be an esoteric, you know, as we're saying, weirdo or, you know, march by the beat of your own drum by any means. But I think there's interesting themes to follow in underdogs or kind of oddballs, whether it's that they're, you know, they exercise creativity in a certain way or darkness emerges because they're sort of alone and isolated. I don't know. It's kind of a scattershot response, but I think it's always just been kind of exploring the idiosyncratic dark wonky weirdness of the loner, you know. Because I was one. I was the kid in sweatpants with a bowl cut who'd play with my action figures in the attic for hours on end with, you know, just me, myself, and I.
What makes you smile?
Well, we have a real fat cat. And every time we look at this fat cat, she's got her own Instagram, @RubyRoundCat. She makes me smile.
How do you feel about death?
Oh, when I really think about death, I'm terrified. I'm like, one day it's just going to be black or a white light. That's when I really think about it, just that all this nice stuff will end, all this nice activity and all these cool people I know and wonderful conversations I'm having and the sunshine and the stray cat and all that stuff. I'm just not going to have that anymore. It's just going to stop. How terrifying. That really, yeah, that's spooky. That scares the shit out of me.
If it makes any difference, I'm also fucking terrified of it.
Every single... It's terrifying. Yeah. It's terrifying. Yeah. I'll probably feel different after I have kids and I'm like, all right, I'm tired. That's the feeling I understand you get after you've lived a full life. As older folks are like, you know what, I'm good. Which is it's an exciting idea to have, or thought to have about that.
Because it implies that you've done kind of everything. There's other stuff that you could do, but all the stuff you've done is pretty good, and that's okay with me.
I think so, yeah.
Tell me about something you learned recently that amused you.
I just read a great book called Hope for Film. There's a film producer here in the States named Ted Hope. Made a bunch of incredible indie films. And it's so film nerdy. It's so uninteresting probably to 90% of people who are, maybe 99.9% of people who might hear this. But I was amused by the making of Ice Storm, which is this like really obscure, maybe it's certainly going to be obscure for young folks, but if you're a cinephile, you'll know exactly what it is. It's this Kevin Kline, Sigourney Weaver movie. And I was like amused to hear that it was a fun collaborative set because it's got such a wonderful tone. It's an Ang Lee movie about a fucked up family, and it's got great imagery, and it's sort of like nostalgic and spooky in a way. There's something just kind of irregular about it. And so I loved reading, nerding out about the behind the scenes of it. That made me smile.
What is beautiful?
Oh, the innocence of children. The innocence of children is beautiful. That's true. They could just like laugh at a funny sound. I mean, ain't that beautiful?
Would you describe yourself as cute and cuddly?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm cute and cuddly. I wish it was hot and jagged, but...
Hey, I think the beard, beard works towards work, like gives you that kind of cavil look.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I need that.
Where do you feel safest?
Well, there's the physical wear is probably at home in where I grew up in upstate New York at the family house that we've had in my family for generations on my mother's side. And the figurative wear I feel safest is in the company of people who I know have my best interests in mind, which going back to that friendship chapter thing, it takes a while. It takes kind of a lifetime to find those people and figure out who those people are who like legitimately have your best interest in mind. And knowing who, like in my life, I have maybe 5 or 6, but no, outside of my family, and knowing that always makes you feel safe being around them. And
if you were on a starship, what position would you hold?
Oh, ensign, because I don't know what it means and it's a fun name. I'd probably be an ensign. That sounds like someone who'd die quick from a Klingon.
An ensign is like an officer in training, I believe.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would be. I wouldn't quite know how to do everything, if at all, and I would die very quickly. Especially if the Romulans came aboard, and I would absolutely not make it. Oh, the Borg. Oh, I'm dead.
Stop. I'm dust.
Okay. I'm dust. I'm space dust.
What is a feeling or experience you've had which does not have a word that you wish did?
Ooh, that's great. A feeling or experience that I would love to label that satisfied tired feeling. Maybe it's satisfied, but the specific feeling of being satisfied tired and knowing that you can chillax and not have responsibility stuff and just kind of enjoy the moment. There's probably a word for that. It's probably just present. That's probably it. But I'd like to figure out what that word is.
I had one like about 5 minutes before we started recording where I caught the last 30 seconds of a TV show that I'd never watched anything of, but it was the last ever episode of the show. And you know the way it kind of wraps up everything and does like the parting shot. And I felt this weird sadness for characters that I wasn't connected to and had no emotional investment in.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, so what's that called?
Yeah,
Like,
Sopranos. It's just called Sopranos. Yeah. NOS.
Do you think there is more good than bad in the world?
I absolutely do. I just got into an Instagram thread, altercation, conversation, heated debate, call it. And I was calling out these just absolutely ignorant white folk who were refusing to say that Black Lives mattered. This organization, great place, go. If you're ever in the States, the Deer Mountain Inn in Tannersville, New York. And it's a wonderful, sort of classy place. And they just came right out and said, we do not condone racism in any way. It's a human rights violation, what happened to George Floyd and Emmett Till and Ahmaud Arbery and Jacob Blake and all of these Black lives. And there was this like thread of people that were like, well, you're going to lose business for me. Unfollow. And one person was like, put a sign outside your business to make sure that the terrorists know that so that they don't like attack your building, because basically there are no terrorists here. There are just people who are upset that our garbage president, Orange 45, has not done anything to recognize that there is civil unrest and social issues, fascism, racism in our country. And so people are rioting and they're angry. And I was just in this conversation with these people who I don't know. I was just fascinated that they couldn't say that. All I just wanted to say was like, can you just say that the human lives of people who are black or brown matter? And she kept saying, all lives matter. I said, right. Well, we know that all lives matter, but are you willing to just acknowledge that black people's lives matter? All lives matter. It's just fascinating. Even though there was such vitriol, this one person, these 5 upstate bubble living folks were spouting this hateful, ignorant language and mentality. They were outnumbered vastly by people who were proud of them, by people who were, well, I'm your new biggest fan. I'm going to have my wedding there. You guys are incredible. Thank you. Clap emoji. And I just called that out. I said, your hatred, ignorance, and vitriol is so... I said, look around you, I think is what I wrote. Look around you. Your hatred, ignorance, and vitriol is far outweighed by progress and love. And I'm trying to come up with the most articulate way to say that all of this vitriol it's so behind. It's going to be lost in the dust. It won't even be mummified. It will just disintegrate. It's so old. It's so outnumbered, outweighed, outdated. It's expired. It's so yes. Long story, long point longer. Good far outweighs the bad. It's just that sometimes, the bad can be really bad, so it doesn't always feel that way.
I've said this on Twitter. I've said this on Instagram as well. But just in case people are listening to this for the first time, of course, Black Lives Matter. Fuck fascism. Fuck transphobia. Fuck bigotry.
Amen.
Just fundamental things. If you don't respect another human being, you don't think they're equal to you.
Yes.
Just go fuck yourself. It's very easy. And you're more than capable. Go fuck yourself in a corner somewhere. I'm okay with you not listening to my show and calling me a bitch and whatever.
Absolutely. And I guarantee you, it's gonna sound like I'm making a terrible generalization about men. I guarantee you, all the hatred and vitriol has stemmed from hurt men. This is a fact. If we're to get into the definition of masculinity, there is a major systemic issue we have with what it means to be a man and masculine, and a big piece of that is hiding emotion and not speaking up for others and masking and being big and scary. Big and scary is far better and far more advantageous than sharing your emotions and showing your heart. There's a lot of these people who are so hateful and are spouting such vitriol, even though I was having it out with this totally ignorant woman. So much of it is from these men who are they just have, nothing to show for themselves but just, but chest banging. It's just so fascinating to me. But none of them ever learned to truly get in touch with their emotions. And so they're latching on to kind of gang and cult mentality. And it's a real fucking shame. So the best thing you can do is call it out exactly as you just did. Tessa, and the same for me, and anyone who's listening should. And it's what I try and maintain, the message on my social channels as well, is Amir Blumenfeld actually phrased it really well. He says, you do not, if you're a Trump supporter, you do not have the right to spark joy from me. Please unfollow me. I feel the same way. But by the same token, I also want to have conversations with all of them if they're willing. I'd love and be like, did your dad hit you at a fast food restaurant when you were 6? Like, I don't understand. Did he just humiliate you and that you just couldn't let go of it? Did you overhear him and mom talking terrible about people that didn't look like you because you're scared? And that just made such an imprint. You've got to slide into DMs and call us soy boys. Or in some cases, far worse.
If you could give just one piece of advice, what would that be?
Don't be a racist. Don't be a racist. That's my advice. Don't be a piece of shit. Be a good human. That's even better. Be a good human being. That's the best advice I can give. Be a good human being. Listen to people.
Don't be a dickhead.
Don't be a dickhead.